There's a moment in almost every dating situation that catches men completely off guard. Everything seems to be going fine. The conversation flows. She replies quickly. Sometimes she even texts first. Then one day, it stops. You notice something small at first. You're always the one starting the conversation. If you don't text, nothing happens. And suddenly, your brain starts spinning. Did I say something wrong? Did she lose interest? Is she waiting for me to lead? Or is she slowly pulling away? That moment creates a lot of anxiety for guys. Because texting feels like the only signal you have. It becomes the scoreboard. If you've ever been in that situation, do me a quick favor. Hit the like button so I know this is the kind of topic you want more of. And if you've had a moment where a woman suddenly stopped texting first and you had no idea why, write it in the comments. I read those, and a lot of the videos on this channel actually come from situations you guys share. Also, if you're trying to get better at understanding attraction instead of constantly guessing, make sure you subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel is about. Now let's talk about what's actually happening. If she texts first, things feel good. If she doesn't, everything suddenly feels uncertain. But here's the first thing you need to understand. Someone not texting first doesn't automatically mean they lost interest. Texting habits are wildly different from person to person. Some people live on their phones. Others treat texting like answering email. They reply when they see it and then go back to their life. They don't think about it emotionally the way many men do. So before you panic, you have to zoom out and look at the whole pattern. Because what matters isn't who sends the first message. What matters is the direction of the connection. But let's talk about the mistake most men make in this situation. They start chasing. The moment they notice she isn't texting first anymore, they try to fix it. They send more messages. They check in more often. They start conversations even when they don't have anything meaningful to say. Hey, what are you up to? How's your day going? Just checking in. They think they're keeping the connection alive. But what they're actually doing is removing all space. And attraction needs space. When someone knows you will always restart the conversation, they don't feel any urgency to invest. The dynamic becomes one-sided. Not because she planned it, but because you filled every gap. I learned this the hard way myself. There was a woman I was seeing for a while, and in the beginning the energy was easy. She'd send random messages during the day. Sometimes a photo of something she saw. Sometimes just a quick joke. It felt natural. Then gradually, she stopped initiating. At first, I didn't think much about it. But then I noticed something. Every conversation was starting with me. So instead of slowing down, I did what most guys do. I tried harder. I sent more messages, more jokes, more attempts to keep the conversation alive. At the time, it felt logical. I thought I was maintaining the connection. But looking back, I can see exactly what happened. I slowly turned myself into the engine of the interaction. I was the one creating momentum. She was just responding. And once that dynamic forms, attraction starts to fade. Not because she suddenly dislikes you, but because the balance disappears. Here's the truth most guys learn too late. Attraction works best when both people invest. If one person carries the entire interaction, the energy starts collapsing. So what should you actually do when she stops texting first? First, stop measuring attraction through texting alone. Texting is just a tool for communication. It's not the relationship itself. Some women are warm and engaged in person, but terrible at initiating texts. Some people prefer responding rather than starting conversations. So instead of focusing on who texts first, ask a better question. How does she respond when you do text? Is she engaged? Does she add to the conversation? Does she reply with energy? Or are the responses short and delayed? Because the response tells you more than the initiation. If she replies warmly, keeps the conversation going, and agrees to meet in person, the connection is still alive. The problem isn't texting first. The problem is when the entire interaction feels like work. Which brings us to the second thing you should do. Match her energy. Not in a manipulative way, just naturally. If she takes longer to reply, You don't need to answer instantly every time. If conversations are shorter, don't try to force them into hour-long texting sessions. Let the interaction breathe. This is where many men sabotage themselves. They try to control the pace of the relationship through texting. But attraction usually grows when both people feel free to move at their own rhythm. When you relax the pace, two things happen. Either she leans back in, or the silence reveals the truth. And both outcomes give you clarity. The third thing you should do is shift focus back to real interactions. Texting is a bridge, not the destination. The strongest attraction doesn't grow through daily messaging. It grows through shared experiences, laughing together, eye contact, physical presence, actual moments. If your entire connection exists inside a phone screen, the dynamic becomes fragile. So instead of trying to maintain endless conversation, use texting for what it's best at, setting up the next interaction. Something simple like, "Hey, I'm grabbing coffee near the river tomorrow afternoon. You should come." Direct, clear, easy to respond to. Now she has a real opportunity to show interest, and her response will tell you more than 2 weeks of small talk ever could. Now let's talk about the scenario most guys are actually afraid of. What if she really is losing interest? It happens. Connections change. People meet someone else. Life priorities shift. Attraction fades. And if that's happening, chasing her attention won't fix it. In fact, it usually accelerates the distance. The strongest move in that situation is emotional steadiness. You don't panic. You don't start performing. You don't suddenly become overly attentive. You simply keep living your life. You focus on your work, your routines, your friendships. Because confidence isn't texting the perfect message. Confidence is not collapsing emotionally when attention fluctuates. And here's something interesting. When you stop chasing texting momentum, the dynamic sometimes resets. I've seen this happen many times. A guy pulls his focus back slightly, stops initiating every single conversation, gets busy with his own life, and suddenly she reaches out again. Not because he played a trick, but because the interaction no longer feels predictable. Predictability removes tension, and tension is part of attraction. But even if she doesn't come back, that's still valuable information. Because the goal of dating isn't convincing someone to stay interested. It's discovering who naturally is. If someone only interacts when you carry the entire connection, that dynamic will eventually exhaust you. Relationships need mutual effort, not perfect balance every day, but consistent participation from both sides. And once you understand that, moments like this stop feeling like emergencies. They become signals. Signals that tell you where the connection actually stands. So if she stops texting first, don't panic. Don't overcorrect. Don't try to force momentum through your phone. Instead, slow down. Observe the pattern. Focus on real interactions. And most importantly, keep your life moving forward. Because attraction grows around people who already have direction, not people who sit around waiting for their phone to light up. And the moment you stop measuring your value through someone else's texting habits, you become far more attractive than any perfectly timed message could ever make you. In the next video, we're going to break down 7 things men do that quietly kill attraction. These aren't obvious mistakes. They're small habits most guys don't even realize they have, until the woman they like suddenly pulls away. I'll see you in the next one. I'm Mark, and this is Mark on Dating.